So welcome families. Thanks for joining us tonight for our family move-in meeting. We are going to run through a series of campus partners information that is very pertinent and relevant to getting ready for the move-in process, as well as your student joining us in living on campus. So with that being said, for those of you joining us right now for our Zoom session, please go ahead and rename yourself so it's easier for us to get you checked in. That way we also don't have a series of iPhone gyms that we can't quite tell who you are. So if you can write your student's name and then, your name and then your student's name afterwards, that's always really helpful for us to make sure we get you checked in accurately. Okie doke. So from here, I'm going to dive into a quick overview of what we're going to cover tonight. So we will go through all of the housing logistics. If my campus partners can help me with monitoring the waiting room as it keeps growing. Our housing logistics will run through some overviews of what the housing logistics will look like for move-in day, as well as some of the policies and procedures for move-in, but also for living on campus. Some of the COVID specific, COVID is still among us and what that looks like for move-in day and prepping for on-campus housing just the same. We'll talk a little bit about health and safety of living on campus and what that looks like in support of our students and their well-being while living on campus, and then talk a little bit more through some of the student-specific support options with parking and commuter services, what your students' experience will look like in the first few weeks of this transition, and talking a little bit about the resources and support available. For those of you that have joined us through orientation, I always use the phrase empowering your student versus enabling your student. And so we'll certainly go through a list of great options for you to best support your student in this transition. Send some reminders out about what it looks like for opening weekend beyond housing for our events and experiences, and then run through our meal plan options if folks have not yet selected meal plans or have questions about that, and provide some updates about what that will look like for move-in and beyond. So again, the first portion of our presentation tonight, about 45 minutes to an hour, will be our campus partners presenting these different areas. And then from there, we'll open up to a Q&A. So I see someone with their hand up. You feel free to lower it. We are going to answer questions at the end to make sure that we have time to get through all, all of our content for the evening. I'll have each presenter introduce themselves as they hop up to the screen. So first and foremost, I'd like to introduce Jeremy Williamson and Ali Serrano, our folks from Housing and Residential Education.
Hi, everyone. As Christiana said, my name is Alex Serrano, and I'm the Interim Director of Residential Education, and I am joined by my wonderful colleague, Jeremy Williamson, who's the Director of Facilities and Operations. He'll be chatting with you all in a couple of minutes about some very important logistical information. I do want to highlight our staff really quickly. So our Live On staff includes 4 resident directors and soon to be 1 assistant resident director. We're in the hiring process right now. We have 35 resident advisors. So we have resident advisors on every floor in all 3 of our buildings. And then we have 8 residential peer mentors. Resident advisors are just like your students. They are, in classes, engaged on campus, but their job is really focused on your students' safety and well-being. So they're connecting with your students, hosting programs, they're serving on call. We have resident advisors on call whenever our front office is closed. So after 5 p.m. and, nights and weekends, we have 2 resident advisors per property on call. And then the residential peer mentors, similarly to the RAs, students just like yours, but their focus is really academic success and making sure that we're supporting your students as much as we possibly can, especially in, this first year when it's important that they're building their foundation. And then we have our amazing operations staff. These are the folks who you've probably been engaging with the most going up to this point. We have an associate director for operations and conferences, an assistant director of licensing and marketing, an accounts coordinator, and then 3 licensing and office coordinators. So there's 1 of those at every property. And then we have our 6 amazing maintenance staff members. The maintenance staff, they are on call. So if there is something that happens at 2 a.m., we have a maintenance staff member on call, but they are at the properties during the day. So that's our team. So we have a couple of policies that I want to highlight for you all. So just make sure that you all are aware as your students are entering our communities, that all members of our housing communities are responsible for upholding not only the CSUSM housing policies, but also our CSUSM code of conduct, as well as local and federal laws and regulations. I know everyone read the license agreement and the resident handbook in depth, but just in case, maybe have them peruse it again so that they can make sure that they're entering into our communities and are able to maintain their status as members in good standing. These rules are really, really crucial to the safety and well-being of our residents. It's important to our entire team that we're creating an environment that is conducive to their academic success, and that's why these policies are so important. If students have questions or concerns regarding their policies, they are encouraged to speak to their resident advisor, their resident director. We're happy to clarify and make sure that they understand both their rights and responsibilities as a member of our community. I do want to make sure you all are aware that due to FERPA, we will not be able to disclose conduct or student concern information to families without a signed release of information. If you were to call me and tell me about something that your student is going through, the first thing I'm going to say is, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but I'm really going to need to speak to your student about this. So as Christiana was saying, really empowering your students to talk to us, talk to their RA, and make sure that we're able to support them. If you have questions about your student safety or well-being, the best contact is going to be CSUSM Police Department, and they can be reached at the number that is on the screen. All right, my friends. So I don't know if you all are familiar, but we are dealing with something called COVID. I know that you probably got so much information and orientation, and just as you all have planned on entering our community, but just want to make sure that it's very clear that COVID-19 vaccines and boosters are required to live on campus. The deadline to submit these records was August 1st. If there is some reason why your record is not complete, please get that into us now. We don't want it to come to a point where Jeremy and I have to start, having licenses at risk, especially as we're so close to the start of the year. So please make sure that all of that information is in. And it can be your vaccination record, as well as an approved exemption for medical or religious reasons. Face coverings are highly encouraged in all public areas of our community. So in housing, on campus, we're really encouraging masking. And especially in those first couple of weeks, as we have all these people coming in and acclimating to the university, we want to make sure that we're starting the year as safe as we can. These policies are being really strictly upheld. Jeremy and I are doing everything in our power to keep the doors open, to keep our community moving. But as I'm sure you can imagine, having close to 2,000 students in congregate living, is a bit of a risk. And so we want to do everything we can to mitigate those concerns. If we need to adjust some of our policies, we'll make sure that that's being communicated to your students really quickly and very thoroughly. Slide. All right, I'm gonna throw the mic to my dear friend Jeremy.
All right, thanks, Allie. So once again, folks, my name is Jeremy Williamson. I am the Director for Housing Facilities and Operations. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the actual move-in day process. And so first things first, before I say please arrive during your scheduled time frame, I'll let you know that your scheduled time frame will be sent out this week. I'm sure we've got questions around when you will know what time you're supposed to show up. We'll be sending that out for North Commons and UVA this week. For the quad, that may be delayed until this Monday. But once you get that email, and you meaning your student, please arrive during your scheduled time frame. A lot goes into that, and we're trying to make it so that folks have a smooth transition onto campus. We're trying to make sure our elevators don't break down, and so there's a little bit of strategy behind that. So please make sure that you show up during the time frame that we send you. As a heads up and just a reminder, move-in day for UVA and North Commons is this next Friday, August 26th. And then at the Quad, move-in day is on Saturday, August 27th. So make sure you mark your calendars for that if you haven't already. And again, move-in times will be sent at the end of this week and early next week. For all of my folks moving in early, those early arrivals, you should have been communicated with. If you have not been communicated with, I believe that the licensing team will continue to reach out to folks through the rest of this week. But if you've not been communicated with, please reach out to us, but also arrive on the date that you selected by 4:30 p.m. I believe we've given a time range on those days for early move-in folks, and I want to say that's 9 a.m. to 4, but at the very latest, we know that you might get caught in traffic, but try to get there before 4:30, and really that's because our office closes at 5 p.m. On move-in day, so that Friday and Saturday, we're asking that folks only bring up to 2 assistants, parent, guardian, friend, sibling, to help unload and get settled. Again, we're trying to mitigate the risk here and not having to shut down our community. So we're asking that you bring up to 2 people to assist. Residents are required to be vaccinated or must have that approved exemption. We are encouraging a COVID-19 test with a negative result taken within 72 hours of your move-in date. And so again, this is just to mitigate those risks. So if you are sick, please do not come to the community if you have any of those indications that might mean COVID. UVA residents will be allowed to unload in parking lot O. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I've got some fancy maps to show you. That's right next to the UVA. North Commons residents will be allowed to park and unload in parking structure 2 on level 1 and 2 directly behind North Commons. Again, I've got a map, I'll show it to you. Quad residents can unload in the church parking lot adjacent to the quad. I'm going to show you that and highlight that for you as well. Any return trips, we're asking folks to park in parking structure 1 for UVA and North Commons on that Friday. That's where you can have extended parking. And then for the folks at the quad, we'll ask you and direct you to park in parking structure 2 on that Saturday. Assistants will be allowed to remain in the community for up to 2 hours. We know you want to say your goodbyes, maybe grab a snack or something before you hit the road. So that's fine. We are encouraging face masks all day in those public spaces, especially as you get on the elevators and walk through the hallways. Moving carts will be available on site for checkout on those move-in days. We highly recommend bringing your own cart if possible, but we will provide carts. We just don't want to run out for you. So if you can bring one, bring it. And then all public areas and high touch objects like the doors will be sanitized regularly throughout the day as part of our attempt to really try to mitigate any issues on the day. Just want to mention that CSUSM has partnered with University and Student Services to offer CSUSM students an opportunity to design their own bed, purchase room necessities, and rent microfridges. So if you are still in the market for some decorative items or just you don't want to put in the time to have to decorate the space, check out this link here, or if you're at North Commons and you're like, we probably want to put a microfridge in there, definitely take a look at this opportunity. Students will work directly with the company for these services. And there's also an opportunity for families to send their students specialized care packages throughout the academic year. And so if you're interested, thanks Christiana, I believe she's put that link in the chat. So definitely check that out if you happen to be interested in it. All right, and so move-in locations. If you're not familiar with campus, I've got a little bit of a highlight here. And so North Commons is that blue square. And so right off the front of East Barham Drive, that's North Commons. Right next to North Commons, you'll skip over there and there's the quad. Thank you for that cursor action, I appreciate that. And then that cool looking building right on campus proper is University Village Apartments, located right there next to Lot O, like I mentioned earlier, and in pretty close proximity to our friends, the University Police Department. So very safe, is what I'll say. You'll hear from them later. All right, so the move-in process is pretty simple, folks. Once you get onto campus, for my UVA move-ins, you're going to park in Lot O, and you're going to pick your keys up in Lot O. And so got that little key there. That's where you're going to get your key packet. That's also where you're going to get your bin checkout. We're asking that once you do that, from lot O, you're going to pull out after about 20 minutes, and then you're going to go right over to parking structure 1 for extended parking. We're asking that you not park in lot O for more than that 20 minutes because we have lots of families coming in throughout the day, and so they'll need to park there as well. And parking structure 1 is right across the street from University Village Apartments, a real short walk, so not too bad of an inconvenience there for our folks at UVA. Okay, same deal for North Commons. On that Friday, you're going to pull over off North City Drive and into that back parking structure 1 right there. Pull right in. You're going to park on level 1 or 2. We'll have staff there to direct you. You'll get your key in that parking lot. We'll give you the checkout bin to help assist, and then you're going to walk over into the front of North Commons. That's how you're going to check in, and then we're going to ask that you pull out of that parking structure and park right up there at parking structure 1 that I just showed you, which is right across from the University Village Apartments. All right, and then the quad, same deal, except there's a church there. If you can see it, it says Summit Church, and behind Summit Church, there is a parking lot, and that is where you can unload, and you got that 20-minute parking. You're gonna unload in that lot and then walk right over there where you see that key. It's right across Riddell Road. You'll see the tents and the tables and everyone else. And that's where you're going to pick up your check-in packet. You'll pick up the moving bin, and then we'll ask you to take your car out of that lot and pull right over into parking structure 2. Again, not that bad of a drive, a pretty quick walk across the street, and you can park there for some extended parking. No overnight parking, please, just extended for the day during move-in. All right, thank you. So this map, we can't zoom in on it, but if you can see those orange arrows, this is the traffic flow that we're asking folks that are moving into UVA follow. We don't want to back traffic up on Barham Drive, and so if you're coming from the east, we'll ask you to from East Barham Drive to pull onto Lamourie Road, I believe is what it's called, and then onto campus and into the UVA. If you're coming from the west off the highway, we're asking that you continue down Twin Oaks Drive and then get onto Craven, and then Campus View Drive is where we're asking you to take your car through to get to the UVA. And that is the route that we want you to take. For my folks at North Commons, same deal. If you're coming from the west and you're getting off the highway, we're asking you to take North City Drive. Yep, that's the route, and to follow it on there to that parking garage. And if you're coming from the east, we're asking you to take East Barham and then to turn right onto Campus View Drive, or not Campus View Drive. I think that's off of Barham. That is, I think it's, yeah, that's right. Just off of Barham, make that right, and then you'll end up on North City Drive as well. Pretty simple. We're just trying to keep East Barham clear. For my folks that are moving into the quad, you're the red arrow. It almost doesn't matter which way you come because it's all the quad traffic on that day. It shouldn't be too much of a hassle. But if you come off of the highway, we want you to just take it down North City Drive as well. And then if you're coming from the east off of that same corner on Barham, and then turn right, and you'll end up on North City Drive as well. So that is the route that we're asking folks to take on move-in days, really to just keep our UVA folk from being caught in that North Commons traffic, vice versa. But we'll also have signage out, directional signage to show you which way to go. If you follow the building that you're supposed to move into, you'll get where you need to go. And then that extended parking again is in parking structure 1 for my folks moving in on Friday. And then it's going to be parking structure 2 for the folks at the quad moving in on Saturday. All right, we'll pass it back over to Allie.
Yes, sorry, I had a hard time unmuting myself. So all residents will be attending a mandatory floor meeting with their resident advisor and resident director the evening of move-in. So the assigned times will be shared on move-in day, but the UVA and North Commons will have their floor meetings on Friday at 7 or at 8 p.m. And the quad will be meeting on Saturday at 6 or at 7 p.m. Saturday evening, we have MIU, which is our campus kickoff spirit night. I'm sure that Christiane will be talking a little bit more about that later, but that'll be at 8:30 up on campus, and their RAs will walk them up. On Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., both you and your students can join us for our official welcome event called Convocation. The RAs again will be meeting their residents and walking them up. And then on Sunday at 4 p.m., the UVA North Commons will be participating in our sexual violence prevention program. And at 6 p.m., that'll be the quad residents. This is a mandatory event for residents. They should have gotten an email letting them know that they would be attending this event Sunday evening or afternoon/evening. And then Sunday at 8 p.m., residents will get to join us poolside for a dive-in movie under the stars at the pool before they head on to start their first day of classes the next day.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, I have to unmute Jenny. Just give me a second here. Jenny, are you able to unmute yourself? Uh-oh. Okay, you got it?
I'm here.
Perfect. I wasn't sure if I was muting you as you were trying to unmute yourself. All right, so welcome Jenny. And she's going to talk a little bit more about this transition to independent living.
Hello, everybody. I literally just got home. I have a 6-year-old little boy and he had soccer practice. So you're getting me fresh off of that. So good evening. There's so many of you here. This is so wonderful. So my name is Jenny Ruiz. I'm Associate Dean of Students at Cal State San Marcos. One of many folks welcoming you to our wonderful community. I probably got a chance to meet some of you at orientations through the summer. So if I did, hello again. I served on a panel representing the Dean of Students Office and Cougar Care Network as well as student conduct, along with some of my colleagues at UPD and some other areas across campus. So looking forward to meet folks in the next coming weeks when your students are moving in. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about and just kind of refresh your mind about CCN, which is our early support initiative here on campus. It is located in the Dean of Students Office, which is located on the 3rd floor of the Student Union. We are accessible Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we are open to really anyone who is looking to support a student. So whether it's a student themselves, a friend, faculty, staff, or family, we want to be there to remove barriers to their education and really serve as an early alert, early support to really intervene as early as possible. You're hearing early a lot. To intervene as early as possible to assist students who could be experiencing any kind of life circumstances inside or outside the classroom during their time at Cal State San Marcos. There will be a number of us kind of tabling, some folks from my team tabling during move-in as well as the first week of the semester, and hopefully can meet some friendly faces who will be the ones receiving the phone calls and the referrals if you do submit something to our office. But really, we are there for any type of challenge or barrier your students may be experiencing academically, personally, financially, anything like that. Before you assume we don't have a resource, assume that we do, and we can do what we can to assist you. So that is CCN. Christiana, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. The other area that I work with is student conduct and ethical development, and we work very closely with the housing and residential education team to ensure that we are providing a safe and healthy living learning environment for all of our students, whether they're living on campus or off. As a member of the CSUSM community, as well as a resident on campus, students are expected to follow all policies within housing and Cal State San Marcos. So we met with every incoming student this semester, are coming in this semester, and those who went through orientation in the past, and really talk to them about the policies and expectations that they are being held to as both members of the Cal State community as well as living on campus. So all students, again, are responsible for contributing to the community, the overall safety, the health, and the well-being of the campus. Some of the common issues that we see with students living in on-campus housing are things around alcohol and drugs. And there is really specific policies within the housing in the residence handbook that gives a breakdown of what is permitted and not. But it's pretty cut and dry. If a student is under the age of 21, we follow state and local laws and they're not permitted to have alcohol on campus. Marijuana, really falling under the drug policy, marijuana tends to be the one we see the most frequent. As a reminder, again, we follow federal law. And so marijuana is not permitted in on-campus housing, university-related activities, anything on campus, because marijuana remains federally illegal. So we follow that law for that. It doesn't matter if there's a medical marijuana card, THC, marijuana in any form is not permitted in on-campus housing or at university-related activities, okay? If you came to orientation, you heard my colleague from University Police talking about guests, and sometimes it's the guests that are being brought into housing that may cause the most issue. And as a reminder for your students that they are essentially responsible for their guests' behavior. So if a resident of ours is bringing in another student who isn't living on campus or is bringing in a non-student, they are responsible however that individual behaves. If they break policy, it may impact your student's lease, okay? So it's really important that they are in tune and talking with their guests about following policies, because they're really an extension of the on-campus residents. We see roommate conflicts. We really encourage folks, and a lot of this will be covered in my next slide, but encourage folks to be as proactive as possible and talk through with their roommates early on about how they're going to handle conflict, how they're going to handle cleanliness and noise and guests. So that way, if and when those situations do occur, they can go back to their roommate contract and talk about what they laid out as far as expectations go. Some other things we see: failure to comply. Our resident advisors and our resident director staff are phenomenal and work incredibly hard around the clock to ensure safety and a healthy living and learning environment. And we just ask that all residents comply with the directives that they are being given from the staff, because what they're doing is from a safety standpoint. And then lastly, just quiet hours and noise. As community builds and people get excited, there's sometimes, exuberance past the noise, past quiet hours. And so we just ask folks to follow that. And so those tend to be the typical kind of things we see. It tends to be pretty relatively mellow, but we know that there's some outliers and we want to do what we can to address that as early as possible and not impact their ability to live on campus moving forward. Lastly, just some advice. I know there's a lot of bullet points, but I've kind of talked about some of these. For our students, these are some things that we've really stressed to them during the orientation process, but checking their email, you may be the ones really kind of hammering on them and getting them to check their email at this point, but everything sent to their email, they are responsible for knowing. Their faculty may start being in touch with them in about a week when faculty come back from their contract or when they come back to start the fall. So they really should be checking their email frequently and consistently. Connect with their faculty, review their course syllabi in a lot of detail. Every student who went through orientation got a planner. We really encourage them to use their planner to really map out what is expected of them with their classes, assignments, all those things. In relation to living on campus, getting to know their resident advisor who is a peer student. Their goal there is to help them build community, ensure that they have what they need and are, again, safe and healthy in the environment. Reviewing the agreement, complete the roommate contract, like I said. Follow social media accounts that are run through Cal State San Marcos. We encourage you to do that as well. That's one of the best ways to stay up to date on what is happening on campus. And one of the biggest things you may think, well, this is kind of a, common sense, is to attend class. because sometimes it can be very easy to get into a pattern, especially if you're living on campus. Say, I'm just going to miss class today, I'm going to sleep in. But our faculty, I will tell you, are really in tune to notice if a student has suddenly just stopped attending, and will let our office know from a concern standpoint to say, hey, this student has stopped attending, stopped turning in assignments, whatever it may be, and we will reach out to them to say, hey, what's going on? Your faculty noticed X, Y, and Z. We want to provide you with support before it's too late. So we also encourage students to reach out before it's too late. If they're having a challenge, to reach out and let us know. Attend events, even if it's by themselves. I know that can be scary, but one of the last things, and you see that for the families, is encouraging them to do all these things. But the last bullet point, which I know may be tough, but there is a reason for this, okay? Please encourage your student to not go home the first 2 weeks. And you're like, but I'm gonna miss them and I want them to come home. And we understand that. But the first 2 weeks, if not longer, is critical to building community. And if they leave, they could be missing out on really key opportunities to meet friends, to get to know the community, to really become acclimated. And it's going to be that much more challenging for them to kind of come back in and already have missed those opportunities. So again, it's as able, if possible, but this is one of our biggest pieces of advice, is to really encourage them to stay on campus those first couple of weeks, to really ingrain themselves in the community and attend all the events that we have going on. And that is what I have. So thank you. Let us know if you need anything. We're here to support anything that you all need for your students. And we look forward to meeting you all next weekend. Oh my goodness.
Alrighty, I'm going to transition it over to Dr. Chun to talk a little bit more about student health and counseling services and focusing on health and safety of our students living on campus.
Yeah, good evening and welcome everyone. I'm Dr. James Chun and I'm the lead physician at Student Health and Counseling Services. Been a part of the Cougar family for about 5 years now. I just want to tell you a little about the services we provide at Student Health and Counseling Services, which is conveniently located between Parking Structure 1 and the University Student Union. So for all the housing communities, you walk straight up Campus Way, up the hill towards the main campus. The University Student Union will be on the right, and Student Health Services will be, Student Health and Counseling Services will be that sort of modern looking building on the left. So right there, convenient for all of your students to access if they happen to need our services. We're open from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. We have appointments for acute care, reproductive health, any lab studies, pharmacy, immunizations. We provide a whole array of kind of acute care things. Just kind of think of us as our the town doctor's office, where we provide acute care services for our community members. We also have downstairs our counseling staff. So these are mental health professionals that provide any type of supportive care if your student have any mental health needs. We also have staff of health educators and sexual violence advocates that are embedded as part of our staff. So our health educators are probably the most visible aspects of our staff. They go out to the campus and promote various kind of health programs throughout the academic year. And then we have our sexual violence advocates should your student happen to need their services, and they're part of our staff as well. So we coordinate COVID-19 testing for students. So things, as you may be aware, over the past 2.5 years, this whole COVID-19 pandemic thing has really evolved. And so what we said in the summer of 2020 is different than the summer of 2021, and certainly different than the summer of 2022, because things have really changed. So we previously had weekly COVID testing at the Clark Fieldhouse for those students with approved medical and religious exemptions. That's going away. So we won't have mandatory testing for anyone on campus. However, if we have a student that has been exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID, or if you have a student that's experiencing symptoms, the County of San Diego is operating a testing site located in Lot B for those students that are symptomatic. And actually, the testing site is open 7 days a week, different hours on the weekends, but open 7 days a week if your student has any concerns and wants to get PCR tested. In addition to that, we will provide rapid antigen tests for the students on demand. So students will have to, basically using a web tool, apply for a test, which is a very simple thing to do if they're having symptoms, or if they're having, or if they've had a positive exposure. They can go ahead and go into our website and go ahead and register for a test. A test will be issued at housing, and then the student can perform that test on their own. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes for results to come back. And then that way the student will know if they test positive or not for COVID. In addition to that, we'll have other places where students can access rapid antigen tests, including Student Health and Counseling Services. We'll have that service available for students once the fall semester begins. So more to come on that, because we're continually working on that protocol to make sure that students have easy access to testing if they need it. We also provide direction to the camp. If we could just go back, yeah. So we also provide direction to the campus on health and safety measures based on CDC, California Department of Public Health, CDPH, and San Diego County Public Health guidelines. So essentially, as the CDC, CDPH, and San Diego County revise their COVID guidance, we will weave those the guidances into our campus health and safety protocols with regards to COVID-19. Next slide, please. Campus-wide health and safety guidelines. So we do recommend that a properly worn facial covering be worn when outside of the apartment, inside campus buildings, etc. It won't be required anymore, but COVID is still with us. And so if your student wants to be maintain the highest safety posture, then obviously wearing a mask indoors is certainly encouraged and highly recommended. However, we are in a phase right now where COVID-19 is becoming less of a threat. And so we're not requiring that, although our safety posture may change if conditions in the county shift and take a turn for the worse. But for now, we're going to start the fall semester on a positive note. COVID cases are decreasing in San Diego County. And so we look like we're going to be starting the fall semester on a very high note. Good hand washing is always encouraged, not just for COVID, but for basically any other type of infectious disease. Cough and sneeze hygiene is always encouraged. Maintaining safe social distancing at least 6 feet apart. That used to be the mantra in 2020, 2021. If your student wants to maintain that safety perimeter, 6 feet is fine, but we're not necessarily mandating that, nor necessarily recommending that, but that's certainly something that people can still use to kind of ensure that they minimize any risk to themselves and to others. Avoiding gatherings, and this is tricky because we're at a time when we're trying to renormalize operations, renormalize social activities on campus. And of course, a lot of that includes gathering together. But just be mindful that gatherings are typically the places where people can pick up COVID, as you have some individuals who are either mildly or minimally symptomatic who have COVID, and particularly if the gathering is indoors, since this is an aerosolized transmission, can spread it through that means. Less concerned now that most people are fully vaccinated, but still a potential risk. So, gatherings, if your student is somewhat hesitant about or is concerned about potentially becoming exposed, then large gatherings, particularly indoors, should probably be minimized if at all possible, just because that's most likely if a spread of COVID-19 occurs, it'll probably be in that type of setting. And then, of course, if a student is feeling ill, stay away from others. Don't go to class. You'll have access to rapid antigen testing. So if a student has cold-like symptoms, which could be COVID or could be the common cold, don't go to class. Go ahead and register and pick up your rapid COVID test. Go ahead and test. And if you're negative, still stay away, because we don't want students to pass on the flu or common cold to others aside from COVID. But at least your student will know for sure that they don't have COVID if they test negative. And then certainly if they feel ill at all, they can contact Student Health and Counseling Services. And that's our website, our bucket email address, and then our general phone number listed down below. And I'll answer questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
All right, oopsies, I'm jumping slides here.
There we go.
All right, so excuse me, doctor, I've promoted you to a doctor. So Officer Sanchez is here from our University Police Department to talk to you a little bit more about safety for our students living on campus.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Leo Sanchez. I'm one of the police officers at Cal State San Marcos. I'd just like to take a few moments, just kind of introduce ourselves and talk about what we do at UPD. So first and foremost, we're always available. We're on shift 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, even on holidays. We have our own dispatch center, so we're a full functioning police department like any other police agency, sheriff's department, municipality, anything. We're exactly the same. Actually, a lot of us came from outside agencies. I came from the sheriff's department. So the areas that we patrol are obviously the campus and housing, also across the street at the Ralph Shopping Center and just kind of the eatery around there. We know that's where the students like to hang out and congregate and go buy their food. So we patrol that area as well. Common crimes on campus that we see, our number one is theft. Vehicle burglaries. So someone, we highly encourage students to hide their backpacks, not leave things unattended in their car, that's worth the value, or even things that they're at the library or the USU. Don't leave a backpack unattended or a computer or anything like that. We highly recommend writing down any high value items, their serial number, so that way if it does get stolen and it ends up they find it in Arizona or Northern California, we're able to track it down and get it back to the student. We have a really I think it's a pretty awesome notification system when we have an emergency on campus. So whether that be a natural disaster, earthquake, or an active shooter, we have a emergency notification system that will send out emails, text messages. It will do a callback, and if a student is using a desktop computer, it will pop up on their screen. It'll give them information on what to do. And if parents or anybody really wants to sign up to receive those notifications, you can go onto the CSUSM website, go type in emergency notification system, and I think it's 5 easy steps. I think it takes less than 3 to 4 minutes to sign up. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. A few things we offer at the police department. We have community service officers, which are student workers. I just like to throw it out there. If you have a student that's looking for a part-time job, we do offer that position within the police department, as well as parking. We share a building with parking. So if a student is interested, doesn't necessarily want to go into law enforcement, but have a job on campus, and we do offer priority registration, please let us know. You can come down to the police station and receive an application. We offer safety escorts. So what that is, if an individual doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't necessarily have to feel scared or anything like that, just doesn't feel comfortable walking to their dorm or their car after class, they can just give us a call at our non-emergency number, and we will gladly pick them up, walk with them. We kind of practice the safety in numbers, so we'll be providing that number at the end. Lost and Found is also located in our building. The PACE program is a program we have at the police department that we like to get in touch with the community. So we offer programs like a self-defense class, which should be starting up in October if COVID lets us, but definitely be on the lookout. Students will receive an email from the communication department letting them know that to sign up and take advantage of those self-defense classes. I think it's going to be one day, a couple hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours, just in case if you ever need self-defense, or even how to kind of not put yourself in that position. It will give out tips and stuff like that. And again, we're a full function police department. We assist and investigate traffic accidents. So 100%, it's a full function police department. And if you have any questions, please let us know. And thank you again, and congrats. And here are our numbers. Non-emergency number is that top one ending in 4567. And 911, if you dial 911 in an emergency, it's going to go to our police department. It's going to go to our dispatch, not the city of San Marcos, the sheriff's department. It'll go to us. It'll go off the cell phone tower and it'll go to our police department. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, so next up, we are going to hear from Kelly Steele with Parking and Commuter Services.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Kelly Steele. I'm the Event and Outreach Coordinator for Parking and Commuter Services. Just a little history about parking on campus. We are 100% self-support. We receive no funds from the state. So as you're looking at those parking prices, just keep in mind that we do not receive any state funds, and all the permit sales do go to maintaining our parking lots. Next slide. Our permits are virtual, which means there'll be no permit that will need to be displayed on the vehicles. When purchasing the permit, you'll be entering in a license plate, and that license plate number will act as that parking permit. We have vehicles that will be going through, they drive through all the parking lots, they have cameras on the top, and those cameras are scanning all the license plates to ensure that those vehicles have a paid parking session and that they are parked in the correct parking lots. Our semester permits are on sale right now, so they can be purchased by logging into the CSUSM app. Next slide. So we do have pay stations and the mobile payment. Both of those options are used for visiting campus to purchase hourly or daily ones. And then your students that are going to be living on campus and bringing a vehicle, they will want to log into their parking account to purchase their monthly, semester, or academic year permit. And the easiest way to access that parking account is through that CSUSM app or through our website. Next slide. This is a map of all of our parking lots. We do have over 7,000 parking spaces available on campus. All of those lots that are circled in black, those are what we consider our general parking lots. So the general monthly, semester, or academic year permit will be valid in all of those parking lots. The overnight housing for overnight parking will be in Lot O, PS1, Lot N, and Lot K. So those are the 4 parking lots for overnight housing. Like Jeremy mentioned earlier, there is PS2. There is parking available in there during the day, but it is closed from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. with no vehicles being permitted in the parking structure during that time. Next slide. And then always the fun part. In case anyone gets a ticket, we do follow the California Vehicle Code. So we do have strict guidelines and timelines for our tickets. A ticket must be paid or some action must be taken within 21 days of that ticket. So you have 21 days to either appeal your ticket or pay the ticket. If tickets do go untouched, try to be ignored, they can result in a CSUSM hold, which does not allow your student to register for classes the following semester, and or a DMV hold, which means they are not able to register their vehicle until that ticket is paid. Just a little reminder, the registered owner of the vehicle does get a notice sent to the address on that vehicle. In case nothing's done, the registered owner does get notified. And then we do have some commuter programs available through our department. We have a bicycle program where we offer free bicycle registration, and we do have bike lockers available to rent by the semester, as well as bike racks and tire pumps. We do offer transit passes at a discounted rate for students. The transit pass does work on North County Transit and MTS. It works on the trolley and the MTS buses in San Diego. However, it does not work on the coaster. And they have a youth opportunity pass. It's a pilot program that North County Transit and MTS and Sandag are offering right now. So any student that is 18 or under is eligible to get a free transit pass. We have more information on our website. It's a great way for your student to try transit. We have a Sprinter station that's located right above the University Police Building. It runs from Escondido to Oceanside. So it's a great opportunity for your students to jump on that Sprinter and take it to the beach. And then another really cool thing we have on campus, we're one of the few people in North County, we have something called Zip Cars. There are 2 cars that are located on the first level of the parking structure. And basically it's a car rental. So you just have to be 18 and have a valid driver's license. And your student can jump on and reserve a time to use the car. So they can rent it by the hour. So if your students are living in housing and they don't want to bring a car, this is a great opportunity for them to be able to go get their groceries or run to the mall or go to Target, do whatever they need to do. It does start at $7.50 an hour, and that includes gas, maintenance, and insurance. And like I said, those are on the first level of the parking structure. The next slide. We are located in the University Police Building with UPD. If any questions at all, you guys feel free to call us or email us. Definitely follow us on social media. Just a little information about move-in weekend. The parking will be complimentary for that Friday, August 26th through that Sunday, August 28th. So as you guys are unloading and then moving your vehicles, you will not be required to have a parking permit during that. Starting at 6 p.m. on that Sunday evening, a parking permit will be required on the vehicles. Thank you.
Alrighty, thanks, Kelly. And again, if any of you maybe joined us later, we're gonna be wrapping up our slides shortly here, and then we'll have an opportunity for folks to ask any questions that they might have. Also, if you're joining us later, it's very helpful for us to get you checked in if you rename yourself. So making sure that you hover over your video screen in the top right corner, you'll see the ... to rename yourself with your name and then your student's name thereafter. Just 2 more folks to chat with you today, and then we'll jump over to our questions. So if you'll hold your question until then, we are just about to that time. As you are experiencing now, this is one of our fabulous services or support opportunities for families through our family programs to make sure that you're informed and connected. Throughout opening weekend, a few people have alluded to some great opportunities for you all to stick around and enjoy our new student and family convocation, which is a ceremonial kickoff to the academic year and truly the opening or induction for your student into our Cal State San Marcos community. There's a really special heartwarming ceremony for our families to present a challenge coin to their students, and folks have until this Friday to RSVP for the event. So I encourage you to do that, and I'll put the link in the chat after I'm done speaking, so that if you have not seen it, that you're able to make sure that your families RSVP'd for that. Our family webinar series is a great opportunity for families to stay informed and connected, similar to tonight's event. Definitely a little less speaking heavy, so to speak, and oftentimes more interactive with our smaller crowds, depending on the speaker or the event series. But the family webinar series will kick off next week on the 24th with academic preparedness, which is led by our first year programs area and one of our faculty members that support our first year and our transfer students in their transitionary courses like GEL or our transfer success courses, to talk a little bit more about what academic preparedness looks like for our students, especially post COVID or within this time frame of folks kind of coming out of maybe not having the same level of academic expectation, so to speak, in their prior institution. Family weekend will be in October, and later this month we'll see the launch of the RSVP for that. So we encourage you to come back in October. Our first monthly newsletter went out, I think it was last week, may have been this week. They all start blurring together. But our first August newsletter has gone out. So if you did not receive that and you attended orientation and want to make sure that you're added to that, please feel free to send me an email at our families@csusm.edu email. I will catch up to them as fast as I possibly can. And so keep reaching out if you are trying to make sure that you get added to any of our communications. Also, for our students, Weeks of Welcome is really a great way for them to experience the first opportunity to make friends and make connections here on campus. And MIU is really one of the best ways to do that. It's a very intentionally structured event for students to learn about campus traditions and spirit here on campus, as well as be able to make friends, make those connections that hopefully they'll be able to continue going to Weeks of Welcome events throughout the first 2 weeks of our semester. It does kick off on Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Oftentimes I get the question of whether or not it is a safe event or opportunity. And as somebody who hosts the event, I would say so, in the sense of it is intended to be an option for our students to have an alternative to being able to make friends and make connections on campus, as well as being very lit in the areas of being able to get them to and from housing. We also encourage students to walk up with their floors. So the floor meetings that Allie referenced happen just before MIU. And so it's very intentional of how folks gather for those meetings, walk up to MIU together, and then walk safely back to their respective hall thereafter. After our new student family convocation, we are hosting a lunch for students and families. So the event is from 11 to 1. That's the ceremony, and then the lunch thereafter. At 1 o'clock, we also are opening up a few of our centers and spaces on campus for some cultural family welcomes. So that will be for the Asian Pacific Islander, Desi American community, the Black community, and the Latinx community, our focus areas for this year. So if you're part of any of those communities, you could also RSVP through our new student family convocation. All are welcome at these events. And then the dive-in movie, as Allie mentioned, a movie has now been selected. So it will be the Lego movie. Our students joke that it's a throwback movie, which if a Lego movie is a throwback, I am really old. So anywho, fun event for our students to kick off their academic year. Our students are encouraged to continue to participate in our back to school series throughout the fall semester. Our fabulous colleague, Ms. Kelly, has given us a month parking permit to help incentivize our students. Our bookstore has provided some bookstore gift cards as well to help incentivize students participating in the series and getting information in real time when they really need it throughout the semester. So encourage your student to attend the events, whether in person or virtually, and they can check those out on our website. From here, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our dining services area and have our final presenter of the evening share a little bit more about dining services. So if you will welcome Janelle Temnick, she's going to chat a little bit more about dining here on campus and our meal plans.
Hi, everybody. It's great to welcome you. I know we're at the hour mark, so I'm going to try to talk fast and get through as much information as I can to provide you with everything that I think that you and your student will need. So like Christiana said, my name is Janelle Temnick, and I'm the manager of auxiliary services at CSUSM. Very happy to welcome you here tonight. CSUSM Dining has a lot to offer all of our students. Here on the slide is a campus map showing all the dining locations that we have on campus. As you can see, we have 8 different retail locations and one all-you-care-to-eat dining hall called the Campus Way Cafe. This cafe is brand new to campus, and it will offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through Friday, and brunch and dinner on Saturday and Sunday. This new location will have 6 food options to choose from, and it will also have a grab and go spot in the very front. So if your student wants something on the go, they have that option as well. You do not need a meal plan to eat at the Campus Way Cafe. In addition to meal plans, the cafe will also accept cash, credit cards, and debit cards as well. You will also see the photo of the campus app on this slide. Through the campus app, students can manage their meal plan, view live streaming cameras to see how long the lines are at Campus Coffee and Starbucks, which we found to be very important. You can also order through Grubhub and pick up at one of the locations on campus, view the hours of operation, and also just see what's open during the time that you open the app. This campus app is also what your student will use to use their meal plan. All they have to do is scan the QR code at one of the registers that accepts the meal plans, and it will deduct either a meal plan swipe or dining dollars. Next slide, please. Here's some additional information about the meal plans that we have to offer. If your student is living in North Commons, they are required to purchase either the PA, Tukwut, or Cougar Blue plans, which they should have already done. If they have not done so already, please make sure that they do that as soon as possible, so that does not delay them getting their keys when they come in for move-in. If they have not selected a plan by the time that they move in, they will be sent over to our table to select their plan before they can get their keys. Students living in UVA or quad are able to purchase any of these 6 plans posted if they choose to have a meal plan. The top 3 plans have meals per week components. So each student gets this many meals per week in the Campus Way Cafe, plus dining dollars that can be used at any of the eateries. The bottom 3 meal plans have an element of a block meal swipes that can be used throughout the semester, plus a component of dining dollars also to be used throughout the semester. So if you look at something like a select plan that has 20 block meals, and so you're thinking that the student is going to eat there potentially once a week in a 16-week semester. If you're unsure which plan to choose from, or if you have any questions about the meal plans, I'm here to help answer any questions that you have. For those of you that have already chosen a meal plan, your student would have received an email today regarding a slight delay in the opening of the Campus Way Cafe. Due to an unfortunate delay in the shipment of a critical electrical component required to open and operate the facility, the cafe will be slightly delayed in opening its doors. We have and will continue to work with our contractor and supplier to ensure that the system is delivered and installed as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, we cannot provide a firm opening date for the facility at this time, but once it is confirmed, we will certainly let you know that information. We are hoping, in fact, that the delay is very minimal and the impact is very minimal to our student population. In the interim, until the Campus Way Cafe opens, we will be moving the all you care to eat options to the dining pavilion in the USU. Students will be able to use their meal plan swipes at all USU locations with the exception of Panda Express. There will be menu items at the eateries that will equal 1 swipe for breakfast and lunch. For dinners and brunch on the weekends, the dining pavilion will be converted to an all you care to eat facility where students will be able to receive the same menu options that they would get at Campus Way Cafe once it opens. Here is my direct email address. Please feel free to reach out. There's also a QR code on this page that will take you directly to our dining website, where we will continue to post information regarding the construction updates. Thank you.
All right, fabulous. Thank you, Janelle. So a couple of our hosts for this evening in our chat, if you would like to jot down phone numbers or have questions to follow up, our Housing Residential Education team, New Student Family Programs, and our Dean of Students office. I will go ahead and encourage everybody to also follow our social media channels to help stay up to date with like Weeks of Welcome events for your students, as well as our family events coming forward. We're going to transition to, we're going to transition over to questions, but I'm actually going to pause our recording.